Okay, now that I have my first cadence set up, I'm going to start adding the sequences. And the first sequence I'm going to add is email. So again, to get the cadences, since you've already set it up, you're going to marketing, cadences, and you can get into the cadence to begin adding the sequences either through the name or this edit icon. Once you get into the actual cadence, you're going to click on add sequence on the right hand side here. And the first sequence that I'm going to set up is going to be email. So I want this email to go out immediately. So anybody who, if I add a lead manually to this data form, if I import leads to this data form, or someone fills out my data form on my external website or internal website, I want this email to be triggered immediately. And so the first step is to name it. So I'm just going to name it step 1. Second step is to pick your type. So I'm going to pick email. And I'm going to leave it at 0 minutes. So this means immediately that as soon as that lead is entered or they submit their information on that data form, this is going to be triggered immediately. I'm going to choose my email account. So all your different email accounts. One thing to note, and I say this multiple times about workspaces, when you create a workspace and you create a data form associated with that workspace, and then you create a cadence and assign it to that data form, the data form, the cadence is inheriting that workspace. So if you have email accounts that you set up and either applied to a different workspace or applied to no workspace, if you're not seeing your email account in here, it's likely because this email account is not associated with the workspace that's associated with the data form that's now associated with the cadence. Sounds confusing, but essentially just make sure all of your assets are associated with the right workspace and they'll show up in here. If you're not using workspaces, it doesn't matter, you see them all. So select your email account. If you went through the training on how to set up an email template and you want to use a template, templates are obviously super important if you're doing personalization or anything like that. So you already have your tags built in there, but you're basically building out your cadence here so you can actually design your email here if you want, which I'm going to do. And your subject line and your email body. Now all of the system tags, so watch the video on our system variables. You can use all the tags that come from either the user profile or come from the lead data and any custom lead data that you have. You can use all those custom fields. So in this case, I'm going to use first name, which is our standard. This is the first step of the sequence. One thing to point out, let's say you already added leads to this data form and now you're creating a cadence for it. It's only net new leads. I do want to point that out. So any leads that come into this data form from here on out, if you have this activated, will get this email, but it's not legacy or previous leads that have come in. So I am going to add in the body. Again, I'm just going to put first name, email, and my cadence. And then I'm going to put my signature tag. So what's cool too, right? So if you're setting up a data form that also has access to a user role, all of the custom, or I guess the personalization of this cadence will pull from the profile of the user who has access to that. So videos to follow show you exactly how to do this. This is just a cadence set up on your data form. You're using, dynamic tags or system variable tags for personalization of the email. They all work in here, including, obviously here in first name and signature. And once I have my email set, I could also click here and drop in source code. So if I have some sort of HTML template or I did view source on desktop Outlook and I threw it in here and started from that, you can do that. And then of course you could select a template if you want that you've already built to build out these cadences. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. So that's going to add it over here into my canvas. And I'll show you in the sequence or in the next videos, once I have all my steps here, how to connect it. But basically once it's over here, you can then drag it over to the canvas, and then that's how you're going to start setting up your sequences. So the next video, we're going to do an SMS sequence, and I will go through that.